Hey guys, Cursor 2.0 just dropped today and this thing is blowing my mind with all the new features that they just released. The Cursor team created new agent mode. They built a whole new coding model for us. They've introduced all sorts of new browser features and it's just insane, all the new features that they released. And don't worry, because in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down all of it step by step. We're going to be covering all the new features in details, showing you some of the limitations, what you can and can't do with some of the new additional workflows I'd recommend to check out. And we have some cool model comparisons. We have some deep dives so you can actually see all of these different models in action with using all the new features. I got you covered right here in this video. And along the way, at the very end, I share my recommendation of using Cursor 2.0 versus Claude Code and which one you should do going forward, because this new model and this new editor is just absolutely insane. So definitely recommend you checking it out, and excited to dive into all the new features with you. Let's get into it. So welcome to Cursor 2.0. What I want to do first is walk you through all the high level changes and features, and then don't worry, we're going to go deep into each one of them right after. So here's the biggest change that you're going to notice in this new version of Cursor. In the top left, you're going to see two modes. Editor, which is the mode that we know and love, where we get to work right here in this right screen on any file, and then over here on the right, we get to actually talk with AI. But Cursor has introduced a new mode called agents. And in agent mode, they are doubling down on the fact that agents are now doing most of the coding, and it is up to us to just review the results and make sure they work. So in this new mode, you get to kind of just talk and actually just kick off background workers. You can kick off the background workers locally on your machine. You can do work tree. Don't worry, this is a huge important feature. We're going to dive deeper into this later, but basically work trees allow you to start working on a task and it'll actually try to solve it multiple times. And then you get to go through and say hey, actually, I like version 3 of the code change that you made. Let's actually apply that one to my code base. So they have solved a lot of complexity for us when working on code trees. So we don't have to worry about a bunch of background Git issues and stuff. Super excited to demo that in just a little bit. Or you can always kick things off in the cloud. So what else can we do? Well, one of the major changes that they've also added inside of Cursor 2.0 is you have a new mic button. So what you can do now is actually just click the mic and you can start talking to different files and saying oh, what I would like to do is to start to work on my page.tsx file to make sure that it properly has a header and so forth and so forth. Now, this is basically like you get a Whisper Flow subscription. So if you haven't heard of Whisper Flow, it's basically this, where you get to go and say hey, I would like you to work on my page.tsx file and make sure it has a header. So what's interesting is whenever I use Cursor 2.0 to speak, you'll notice it just calls out the file. However, whenever I use Whisper Flow, it actually does better than Cursor and understands my code base and will actually auto reference the file I'm talking about. So definitely like the direction they're going, but it could definitely use some more work. And what's interesting is you can only talk once you have started a new chat. You can't do it halfway through, which is kind of interesting. Hopefully they'll fix that. All right, what else do they have? Well, let's hop over back to editor mode. And the main thing that you're going to notice is, let's open this up a little bit more, is that you now have a browser, which is crazy. This is I think one of the other cool features that they have inside of here. So what you can do is click Google Chrome, which will actually open up a whole brand new instance of, whatever browser you're using. So I'm going to say, can you please open up whichever browser tool you have selected, and we'll kick it off. And what it'll do is it'll actually start to figure out, oh, I can see you have this browser, and it'll actually open up a brand new browser like you can see right here. It's blinding me, but it works. So yeah, boom, it's gonna open up a brand new browser, take a screenshot to say hey, we're on a blank page. What's also pretty cool is you can click browser tab and it'll actually bring in whichever page you're working on, and it'll do it right here inside of your editor. And what's super nice is because I all the time will have code in one window, and it's this time I'll usually work on a page over here. So I'm working on the landing page on the right hand side, and then over here on the left I have the actual page I'm editing on. And what's nice is as you make changes, so we can say hello, and as soon as we save, boom. So it's it's looking awesome. I really love this feature, and the browser has an insane amount of cool features if you're using it inside of Cursor. So this is just a quick reminder, we're in browser tab mode, and what you can do is you can actually select elements. So whenever you click select element, you can say click this H1 and it'll auto reference the underlying code. It'll click the element so it'll have context about what you're trying to change. And then you can say like, hey, can you please change this to say super fast and affordable? And what it'll do is, because it auto has reference to like, oh, you're talking about this element. Fantastic. I will go update the necessary code to make it happen. So that's really cool that you can now just point and click on the website and say like, I want to change this. And that auto gets added as context to Cursor. This feature right here is genuinely insane, and it's going to make solving some of those hard UI bugs when you're like passing in screenshots and doing everything else and you're like, please fix this, and it doesn't do it. Well, now you just click it and it works perfectly. So love this browser feature. All right, what else do they have set up for us? So now that we're back in editor mode, let's cover one of the next obvious changes that they've made, which is there's a whole I will set it. There's a whole brand new model in here where you can actually use Composer 1. And don't worry, we're going to go deep into Composer 1 in just a second. But so far, initial testing of Composer 1, this thing is an absolute speed demon at how quick it can actually crank out code. And I've actually done a few tests that I'll show you here in a little bit. It's performing pretty darn close to the Sonnet models. Like they have a blog post where they actually showcase like they're like this close to being the exact same as Sonnet. And so far from what I've seen, like that's definitely seems to be true. So this is a brand new model. Now, what else can we do inside of editor mode? So let's open up a new instance. So when you're in editor mode, one of the other new cool features that they have is you can actually click whenever you're trying to work on a new task. You can not only just pick the new model that they've released, but they've released a brand new mode called Use Multiple Modes. And whenever you click Use Multiple Modes, you get to come in here and actually, sorry, I hate the little pop-ups, but you get to actually click what are the different models you want to use. And kind of like what we talked about earlier with the agent get workflows over here, so like the work tree, it's basically doing that exact same approach where it's like, oh yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and solve this problem that you're giving me twice. I'm going to use Composer twice, and then I'm going to use Sonnet 4 twice. So that's really cool that they're going to be able to spin up all those different instances of solving the task, and then we get to pick like, oh, you know, Composer 1 was the best, or, you know, Sonnet 4.5 was the best, and we get to pick. Obviously, we're going to burn through some tokens whenever we do this, but we're going to have a ton of different variation on picking the one that works the best. So if you're going speed mode, man, there's nothing that's going to compare to, you know, building out these different tasks in parallel. And I'm going to show you some really cool examples of this in here in just a little bit. All right, outside of that, I just want to show you one other cool thing that I noticed inside the new update. So what you'll see is up in the top of my browser. It's super, super hard to see, but they've actually added what looks like a new little menu on navigation bar of your actual computer where you can see all of the recent agents that were implemented. And whenever you click on one of these different completed agents, it'll take you into Cursor, take you to that chat. So it's a really cool way to like actually see whenever your agents are done. You can actually just on any window, you'll always get like small alerts of like, hey, Cursor, now that Cursor is more of a background worker, go off and solve complex tasks, you get a nice little notification that it's done. And if you want to actually add that on your computer, it's super, super straightforward. So let's actually close out of these and I'll show you how to do it. So all you have to do is in your instance of Cursor, you can just type in the fact that you want notifications. And whenever you go to notifications, you're just going to say, yep, I would like all of these turned on. I want the menu bar so I can see as soon as Cursor is done and notify me. Also, I'd like a little sound every time one of my background agents finishes. So that's another cool little feature that I think they've added that I really have loved. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take this bad boy for a spin. And I'm going to show you exactly how powerful some of the new features, such as the parallel task and the new agent really are. All right, so the first thing I want to show you guys is how you can start to use the new parallel agents workflow inside of Cursor 2.0 to start working on cranking out tasks so much faster. So here's a quick overview of what we're trying to do for this test. I'm working on a new project in my startup ShipKit where I help developers launch AI applications in days instead of weeks. And in this example project, I want the ability to have admin users have unlimited usage when they're using this new project I'm adding to ShipKit. So here's what we're going to do to get the most out of working with the new feature inside of Cursor. What we want to do is before we kick off multiple background agents to start working on adding in this new functionality, we need to come up with a plan, because background agents, they're not really made to be interactive where they're talking to you every 2 seconds. They're background. You give them all the information, then they go off and do the work. So what we're doing is we're passing in some instructions to say like, hey, please create a task. And under the hood, I have this task template, which is, specialized on making sure that it has all the proper instructions on how to create tasks. So this document included in ShipKit is a huge document that is a specialist at coding real-world Next.js applications. And I'm like, hey, go make a task that makes sure admins are automatically registered, have unlimited uploads, go ahead and look at the database, make sure that all components that normally would block administrators, go ahead and let them through. If you have any questions, let me know. Outside of that, I want you to make sure that we update everything, including everything on the sidebar and all these different pictures that I have uploaded. So anywhere that I have the word upgrade, hey, if I'm an admin on the platform, just go ahead and actually let me use the underlying feature. So that's what we're trying to do. I recommend you to do as well is to run something like this, maybe go into plan mode or use something like a task template to actually come up with a huge monster task that clarifies exactly what we need to do. So, hey, admins have unlimited access. Now, you have 2 options at this point. Option 1, if you want to actually start working on implementing it, what you can do is one of 2 options. A, you can come right in here and actually paste in the hey, I want you to go ahead and work on this new task document that was created. And what I would like you to do is actually kick off multiple models. So in this case, what we're going to do is say, hey, I would like to kick off 1 instance of Composer. I would like to kick off 1 instance of Sonnet 4.5. And I would like both of these models to compete in implementing this task. That's option 1. Or if you hop over to the Agents tab, it's basically the exact same thing. You can pick both, it's the exact same thing. So we'll go ahead and click enter to send it off. And what this is going to do is it's going to work on kicking off the project twice. So, in instance 1, we can see which model we're using. And behind the scenes, you can see it's actually made like a new Git tree to where it's actually working on this. So this thing is an absolute beast. And right now you can see we're done with 3 out of 10 tasks. Sonnet 4.5 just figured out what task it even needs to work on. So as you can see, I'll zoom out just a little bit so you can see how much the thing is absolutely flying. And we'll close out of everything. So yeah, you can see this Composer, they are not lying. It is an absolute beast at cranking through projects. And at this point, it's almost done with building out the entire functionality. If we hop over to Sonnet, you can see it's like, well, I'm going to work on quotas. Okay, I'm going to add a comment. I'm going to plan my next move. We're not even done with a single task yet. And the other project, Composer, going back over there, Composer is done at this point. That's crazy. So I hope you guys got to see the side-by-side comparison of speed, because this thing is stupid fast. I am heavily impressed with Composer. So well done, Cursor. You guys have absolutely crushed it. Now, here's what we get to do as developers. We can, at this point, if we want to check it out, what we can do is we'll open back up our browser tab. And what's really cool is, I know this is a little hard to see, they've just kind of compacted everything in. But what you can do as soon as we're done with the task, you can click apply. So what we're going to do is make this as big as possible while Sonnet is still thinking, and it's 33% done where the other one's 100%, which is crazy. We're going to go ahead and click apply, and it's going to apply all the changes made by this one branch. So we can go ahead and click apply, and we should see this completely change now to say, oh, you're an admin, and as an admin, you have unlimited usage. So it completely changed everything. And what's also really nice is whenever I go click on a transcript page, it was supposed to also ungate this. So in the past, this used to have a little thing that says hey, upgrade. And now it's going to actually generate AI summaries. This part is not fully done yet, but I'm working on it. And if you ever are like, oh my God, I did not like what was finished in this task, you can always come back over here. Let's close out and make this a little bit bigger. And yeah, you'll have to maybe make your screen a little bit bigger. So don't panic if you apply it and it breaks everything. The undo apply, kind of goes away on smaller screens. So we can always click undo apply. And as soon as we do that, it's going to revert us back to our old changes, which is crazy that it is that easy to swap between different models and different attempts at solving the problem. And guys, Sonnet is still going. That is crazy. It makes me upset with how much I didn't even know how long I was waiting to actually do work. I thought I was going fast, but Composer has allowed us to go 10 times faster. So we'll give Sonnet a few more seconds to see if it does the exact same things. So far, Composer, it's working perfectly. So we're going to let Sonnet finish this up, and then we'll move on to the next comparison. All right, so I just switched up from the agent view to the editor view, and as you can see in the editor view, we finally finished up in Sonnet land, and it took roughly an additional 2 whole minutes to actually finish this up, which is kind of crazy. Now, whenever we actually go to apply the changes, we'll expect it to update this and our sidebar. So I'll actually take this for a spin. It'll refresh, and ta-da, that's working great, and that's working great. What is crazy though is if you actually kind of look at the difference between both of these, it's actually the same if we compare both of these side by side. So let's do apply, and once again for Composer, yeah, like it did the exact same thing, and it did it faster, and it did it way cheaper. So let's actually go ahead and hop over to look at how the actual cost compared to do both of these different tests, so you can actually see like, man, which one should I be using for day-to-day development if I'm, exceeding my current usage limits and I'm having to pay for these tokens myself. So let's hop over and check it out. Oh, and if you're looking to build AI applications in days instead of months, you're definitely going to want to check out shipkit.ai. We have a bunch of pre-built production-ready AI templates for the most common real-world AI application types, such as chat, RAG, and agents. Inside ShipKit, we have courses that walk you through everything from helping you come up with your idea, building a development plan, launching your application, and more. And along the way, we have videos, and we actually have AI scripts that do most of the work for you. So you don't even have to do anything. You just tell the AI what you want, and it'll walk you through the entire process end to end. And we're continually adding in new projects, such as the one you're seeing in this video, which is teaching people how to build background worker applications where they can kick off AI workflows in the background or just regular coding tasks in the background. So we're constantly adding more. And if you want $50 off, I definitely recommend using code Cursor 2.0 to get a discount. I'll have a link down in the description below. But enough of that, back to the video. So now it's time for us to dive into the numbers and compare our Claude 4.5 Sonnet thinking instance, where it was solving the task, versus Composer 1. Now here's what's crazy. When it comes to Claude, it actually took, almost an additional 500,000 tokens to generate the output. And as you saw, they were basically the exact same thing. Then when it comes to Composer, what's also the craziest thing that I'm noticing is that it is way cheaper. When you actually go in and dig into some of the math behind the scenes, it averages out to be close to $1 per 1 million tokens. So this is like a blended input output rate, but you can see it's roughly $1 per 1 million tokens that we put into Claude 4.5 Sonnet, versus if you do a little bit of math and say, hey, how much does it cost to run 1 million tokens with Composer, 1, it actually takes, roughly 33 cents. So there is a drastic 3 times more cost effective to use Composer versus Claude 4.5, which is insane when you actually look at the numbers behind the scenes, because they got the exact same result. And that was like a, small, medium task, and it crushed it. Not only faster, if you actually go, and we're going to check out the report in a second, it's 4 times faster. So 4 times faster and 3 times cheaper. Like, you can't beat that. So I am blown away with this new model from Cursor 2.0. So now that we've dug into the actual cost, let's actually go dig in deeper to what they announced in their most recent blog report on this new Composer model that they just released. All right, so let's dive into the new blog post that was just released by the Cursor team, breaking down how they built the new Composer model. Now, the most important screen that you need to see in this whole section is that Composer is an absolute beast when it comes to intelligence. It's at the same level, basically, as the best frontier model. So I'm guessing they're using 4.5 from Claude Sonnet for an actual comparison. And as you can see, they are basically identical. Like, that's such a small gap, especially when you compare speed. Like, this is a 3 times speed up when you actually compare them against the best frontier model. So you're getting basically the same level of intelligence, but you're getting it 3 to 4 times faster, which is just, it's insane that they were able to accomplish this. Now, the next thing that they break down is just like, hey, how did they do it? And what they're trying to showcase in this next section is that they started off with a base open model, and through a bunch of reinforcement learning with a ton of, comparisons of like real world code development environments, over time, they were able to get to that super high level quality of intelligence. So how did they do that? I mean, I'm guessing they probably just get a ton of information. Think probably as we're using Cursor, they're probably getting a lot of training data. They're using that training data to then make their model smarter and smarter. So as time goes on, this thing is probably just going to get infinitely more intelligent. Very excited to see where they take this in the second iteration of this model. The next thing that they focused on was making sure that this new composer model was more effective and properly used all the tools available to be a better model. So what does that actually mean? Well, instead of doing a bunch of sequential calls back to back to back, which slows things down, they really focus on doing things in parallel. So you can see the base model that they started off with really wasn't the most efficient at using parallel tool calls, but through reinforcement learning, they really bumped up the way that the agent used tools in parallel to make sure that it moves faster for us. The next thing that they did, which I really like, is the fact that Composer uses way more search and file read tool calls, which is great because instead of the AI just going off and actually just guessing at what it needs to do next, it's actually going to be going through your code a lot more to try to be more intelligent at coming up with, a proper solution to the problem it's working on. So yeah, as you can see, it's doing a lot more reading and a lot more searching in parallel to get better results compared to other models. So all around Composer, they've absolutely crushed it. And yeah, that's pretty much the report in a nutshell. So, hats off to the Cursor team. They are crushing it. All right. So that out of the way, I want to show you one or two more cool things that you need to know about the browser agent that we didn't get to dive into, but I want to go deeper so you can understand the limitations of the new browser agent that you're getting inside Cursor 2.0. Okay, so let's dive deeper into the browser tool inside of Cursor 2.0 so you can understand some of the limitations, what it's great at, and see some of the cool workflows that you can use inside of Cursor. Now, first things first, how do you get this open? Well, you need to make sure in order to use the browser tab, you have browser tab turned on and make sure your little globe is blue. Now, if for whatever reason you don't see your tab, what you can always do is say, hey, can you please open up? Then make sure you call out the word browser tab, like that is the tool call, and then just go ahead and give it a URL where you want it to navigate. And then boom, it'll actually go ahead and navigate and you can actually see the website that you wanted it to go to. Now, here's where one of the first limitations that come into using this new browser tool. If you go to a website that you're normally logged into on your browser, well, hey, this is a brand new agent browser. It doesn't know that you're logged into your email or everything else that normally works inside of your computer. You'll have to manually log in. But once you're logged in, you can use it just like you were using the computer. Now, what else is awesome about this platform though is it's great at finding elements on the page and clicking them. So what we can do is just say like, hey, can you please click on the calendar and tell me which days this month we had coaching calls. Now, what this is going to do, I'll kick it off in just a second, but just quick heads up. This is my AI Developer Accelerator School. We have over 10,000 members. It's free to join. We have weekly free coaching calls like you're about to see. Definitely would love for you guys to join and get to meet a bunch of like-minded AI developers. But you can see it's going to take a screenshot of the page. As soon as it takes a screenshot of the page, it finds the element, it clicks it. Then it's going to go ahead and scrape the page and figure out like, oh yeah, you had coaching calls pretty much on all the Tuesdays and Wednesdays this month. Here's some of the key dates. And it did a great job of actually finding everything out. Now, here is just a cool tip of what I would recommend to use this for. So one way I like to use agentic browsers like this is to do workflows for me. So if you ever find yourself in the process of like, man, every day I have to do my timesheet, or every day I have to go to this page, get this information and take these actions. Well, what you could do is just here in your browser chat, you can just go through the process of doing it one time and then say at the very end to say like, hey, can you please record all the actions we took and turn it into a set of instructions, save it as a file. Usually what I like to do is I like to save it inside my AI docs folder in my computer and just basically say like, hey, this was my due timesheet task. Can you make sure to save this as a set of instructions? So tomorrow I can just tell you to do my timesheet and you'll go fill it out for me. You'll open up the browser, you'll click around, you'll do it all. So that's one way I really recommend checking out and using these new agentic browser tools. Okay, so that's doing it as a workflow. And then one of the other things that I like to do is to actually use it to help me make my websites mobile responsive. Now, this is where a big limitation of this browser tool comes in. So we can say, hey, what are all the tool calls you have available for browser tool? Now, what you're gonna find, this works sometimes, doesn't others, But what you can see is it has the ability to do a bunch of things. So it can navigate, as you just saw. It can click on stuff like you just saw. Like it can drag and drop. It can wait for stuff. It can look at your console. But here's what it can't do. It can't resize your editor. So this is a huge, like, I think this is a big drawback, that you can't resize your screen, because if I'm trying to make a site mobile responsive, what I like to do, and I'll have a video coming out on this soon, but what I like to do is I like to make my page, you know, to resize it and have AI take a bunch of screenshots at different, you know, breakpoints to see like, hey, is this page actually mobile responsive? Are we breaking anything? And, you know, by just analyzing all these different screenshot sizes, it'll say like, oh yeah, things are definitely broken on mobile view. Here's what's going wrong and here's how we can fix it. So that's one major drawback. Its browser tool is, you know, it's brand new. It doesn't have a ton of extra custom features yet. So hopefully soon they'll have those incorporated. But yeah, that is the browser tool, a little bit deeper. And now what I want to do is cover a few more awesome features about Cursor 2.0. And the final few features that I want to show with you guys is that inside of Cursor 2.0, they have made it a lot easier to do code reviews. So you can now see everything's a little bit more toggable. So I love that they're always improving the UI to make it easier to develop with. One of the other cool features that they have is that you can now use custom commands and actually share them with your team. So this is great if you're working at a company or you have a few developers under you. It's really easy to get things shared. I will say though that obviously most of the time people are working inside the same code base. So it's, you know, normally like when working on my own projects, I always just have it shared so all developers get the same cursor rules and we're in the same project. So pretty cool that they did this, but I'm not sure how that's different than normal mode. Outside of that, you can see that they're doing a few different things to make sure that cursor itself is more performative. This I think is super important because, like, I don't know about you guys, but cursor hangs up a lot for me. So fingers crossed in this new instance, it's not going to get stuck as much and actually just continually crank out code instead of, you know, making you wait every time you open up a new project. Then outside of that, they have a really cool feature. I believe this was launched maybe in a combination of previous release and now, but they obviously have plan mode, but now they allow you to do plan mode in the background. So if you were to go off and kick multiple projects off at the same time, so like, you know, Claude Sonnet 4 and Composer 1 at the same time, you can actually kick off plans for both, chat with both plans in the background, and then have it go off and actually do the task itself. So these are some of the most important updates that I found, and obviously they've made the UI prettier. But yeah, those are some of the other big changes that they released in version 2.0. And at this point, I do want to go ahead and give you guys my like final verdict on what I think about Cursor 2.0 versus like a Claude code, just so you guys can feel my current recommendation as of new release. All right, so let's dive into comparing what tool I'm going to be using now that we've covered all the amazing new features inside of Cursor 2.0 and figure out what tool I'm going to be using for AI development going forward. Am I going to be using Cursor or Claude Code? And just for a bit of background, in case you've missed it, I actually did a video on this exact topic the other day, comparing Cursor compared to Claude Code. But obviously that was before the amazing update that we got to watch today. So definitely recommend checking out that video because I actually break down price, which in my opinion is one of the most important topics when working on these different coding tools. And the main takeaway that you'll see in that video is Cursor roughly costs 4 cents per request if you're on your subscription. After your subscription, your $20 a month, $60 a month, you know, you're paying per use, which is, we did the math and we found out that it was roughly 33 cents per 1 million tokens using the new model provided by Cursor. Claude Code, on the other hand, depending, you know, on the usage and time of day, you're roughly going to pay 1 to 2 cents per request. So Claude Code, definitely more cost effective. However, here's my current thought on the situation. Claude Code is the pioneer. They have created and done all of the Git work trees, like everything you saw today with doing multiple tasks at the same time, with testing one model versus the other. You could already do that inside of Claude Code. However, you manually had to set it up. You manually had to create the work trees. You had to manually copy and create the projects. Obviously, you could use AI to help automate some of the process, but it's still nowhere as near as beautiful as this. This thing is absolutely amazing what they've just set up inside of Cursor 2.0. So Claude Code already had these features. However, it was obviously more developer focused who were very experienced could already do most of the features that you just saw today inside of Cursor 2.0. Now, here is my takeaway. here's how I'm going to be using these features. I already have a $20 a month subscription to Cursor, so I'm going to be using that in a lot more now that this is out. I, at this point, already have a $100 a month subscription to Claude Code. Now, going forward, what I'm going to do is I'm still going to be doubling down on Claude Code to do all of my cranking out of all of my different code projects. So, you know, when I'm in Cursor, I just spin up my Claude Code and I have it absolutely go to town and whip around, and I just open up as many different instances of Claude Code as I possibly can to crank out all the different features, and I have it, you know, pop up to right here inside the terminal, so it feels just like the normal chat session that you would get inside a Cursor. I'm doing this strictly because I don't mind the additional complexity, and I've spent thousands of dollars over the past few months inside of Cursor. So at this point, my wallet is begging me to find stuff a little bit more cost sensitive. So at this point, I'm going to be trying out Claude Code a little bit more, and I'm going to be trying out the new model a lot more when it comes to using Composer 1, and actually see, you know, I'll do a bunch more side-by-side comparisons to see which one actually saves me more money and actually gives me better quality results. So at this point, the jury is still out on which one is the best at being most cost effective, and I'll keep you guys posted in a future video on which one I think is the best. But at this point, I could see myself going back and forth constantly between Composer, because I'm paying for it at this point, like there's no, I'm way past my budget this month, and between Claude Code. Now, here's what I would do if I was you guys. If you are a more technical engineer, you fully understand Git work trees, you know, like you got this together, you love the terminal. Claude Code at this point looks to be a little bit more cost effective if you're paying for tokens. Now, if you are a more vibe coder, you are more of the type of developer who's just like, I don't care about the cost at this point. I just want to be as user-friendly as possible. I mean, at this point, nothing beats Cursor. So if, you know, depending on which bucket you fall in, hopefully that gives you some clarity. I mean, at this point, both of these tools are insanely powerful, and Cursor at this point is definitely the most UI. It is the most effective. You're just paying a little bit more money to get all these nicer features. So, you know, hopefully that helps, but can't go wrong with either of them. I mean, at this point, Cursor, I think 80% of the population should probably use, and if you're one of the big power users who's very cost sensitive, it might make sense to go to Claude Code. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I would love to hear which one of these AI coding tools you're using and why. Just drop a comment down below. I always love seeing what you guys are working on. But yeah, hopefully you guys loved watching everything about Cursor 2.0. So that's a wrap for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing this Cursor 2.0 first impression / deep dive video. I had a ton of fun playing around with this new editor and their new model. I can't wait to see all of your comments down below of what you think about this new tool. And with that out of the way, a few quick shout outs. We have that free Skool community for you guys. We have over 10,000 developers in there of all skill levels, and we have free weekly coaching calls where you get to hop on a call with me and a bunch of other developers inside the community. Can't wait to see you over there. And quick reminder, if you are interested in bringing your projects to life in days instead of months, I have shipkit.ai for you guys. Bunch of pre-built projects, courses. We have weekly coaching calls to help you guys get moving on bringing your ideas to life and making money with AI development. But outside of that, I have a ton of other AI related content right here on this channel. Everything from Claude Code to AI development workflows and a bunch more crash courses on all different AI coding topics. So I definitely recommend checking out whichever video is popping up right now. If you have any questions, drop it down below. But if not, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.